Hello everyone, good morning. This is writer Coach Tony. It's already day 22 of the lockdown here in the Philippines, in Luzon, or in Quezon City where I live. So I'm going back again to making vlogs. This time, today, I'm going to talk about how to write a literature review, but this time this is for the old type of literature review. Because right now in Philippine universities there are two types of literature reviews: the ones that follow the old format and the ones that follow the new format. So I've encountered some students who still do the old format. So apparently there are universities in the Philippines, in Manila, that follow the old outline of a literature review. So what is the old outline? So in the old outline they have, as you know, chapter 2 is review of related literature and studies. So in the old outline, they follow an outline where they have five subtopics. So you have local literature, foreign literature, local studies, and foreign studies. And then you have synthesis in the end, where you summarize the main points of all the previous four subtopics. So, to write a literature review, you have to know the difference between what a literature is and what a study is. So for a study, the easiest place, of course, is to go to Google and just go to search for journal articles, and there you will find many studies about your topic. For studies, the it has to be at least 5 years old. So if you're doing the thesis now, the oldest study you can put should be done last 2015. So it should be a study done between 2015 to 2020. Now for the literature, it can be anything. It can be a magazine article, a newspaper article, it can be a book, it can be a handbook, it can be a conference paper, um, anything except a study. So it must be it can come from the UN website or any um, website that is credible, and so that can be placed in the literature. Now the difference between local literature and foreign literature is that local means since those students are coming from the Philippines, they have to be done by Filipinos. So studies done, articles done in Filipino newspapers, magazines, websites. No, so those are the only things you can put there. So and again, for foreign literature, it has to come from abroad. For the studies, um, same thing. For local studies, they have to be done by Filipino researchers coming from the different universities in the Philippines. If it's foreign literature, then it can come from abroad, from any country abroad. Um, yes, that's it. So, how do how do you write your literature review? First of all, by this time you should have a topic already, but usually, in my experience with coaching students, the title is usually tweaked. No, as the researcher does his writing, he or she will discover things that can change the title. For example, um, there are variables that can change. Because in reality, there are some variables which are difficult to measure. So if you really want to graduate, you have to look for variables that are measurable. So as you read more literature review, you'll find out which variables have not yet been studied, and then you can find a way to study them. Also, another way to change your title would be to change the respondents. Maybe before you focus on female respondents, but now you think of spreading it out to both male and female, and then of a certain age. So as you read more studies, as you read more literature, you can fine tune your title to really zero in on the population or on the sample that you want to study. So that's one of the big helps of doing your literature review, because as you read more about your topic, you find out what you really want to study, who do you really want to study, and find a way to study them, no? To study those variables, those things you want to find out to solve your statement of the problem. So I think one of the best tips, no, in writing your literature review is to perfect your um, search phrase, no, in Google. Um, in my experience, that's the best way to to zero in on the articles you want to read. Because if your choices of words together is a bit unclear, what will come out would be the wrong articles, and you don't want that because you're trying to save time, because you have to read through a lot of literature and studies. So it's important that you put the keywords, the right keywords together. For example, if you want to search for um, Philippine studies on game applications as teaching models, so that's how you choose the right keywords and put it in Google. Because if you put the wrong keywords, then you'll be diverted into something different. So anyway, as you try to do your research, you'll find out the right keywords for that. So I think number one, um, find the right keywords when you do your research. Number two, as you read, because you have to do a lot of research, so the abstract is very important. So you have to go through each of the abstracts and read them carefully. If it doesn't suit your study, you can just take them out. Then you proceed to the next study. And of course, you have to check the date. No? Make sure for studies, they have to be 5 years old. So 2015 is the cutoff date. Anything lower than that, disregard them. Same thing with literature. The literature should at least be 10 years old. So if you're doing the study this year, 2020, the literature you do or you put in your literature review should at least be from 2010 and older. Okay. Okay. Another tip, aside from the keywords, is to focus on like what I do. You focus on um, what the study contains. Now, for example, um, you have your title, and then you look at the statements, the problem that's being studied by the article you're reading. No, you look at the problem they're studying. You look at their sample. No, for example, they're studying students from this school, this age. So you have to look for matches. You have to match what you're studying. If you're doing a study in a school, it would be best if the studies and literature you'll be putting would be about a school, studies done in a school. No? Because if you digress, most likely your supervisor will return your lit review and ask you to revise it. You know? So when I look for studies, I check the statement of the problem, I check the methodology, and then I check the conclusions. So from there, I form the paragraph that's for that study. So as you go over many studies, you'll realize that some of the studies duplicate themselves. No? They kind of overlap. So when you do your referencing, you can reference different authors, different researchers, if they have the same idea, if they had the same results. No? So let's review again. To write your literature review, you should watch out for your keywords when you Google, so that you don't waste your time. And then I always put journal articles when I want studies, because because Google brings you to its page where they all have these journal articles. So it would help if you put that keyword, because if you don't put that keyword, you'll be redirected to websites or newspaper sites or blogs, which is good for your literature, the literature part of your lit review. So anyway, aside from that, you have to read carefully each of the studies. Make sure you understand which parts are relevant to your study and which parts are not, because most likely what you'll read is not 100% similar to what you're studying. So just include the parts which you feel are relevant to your study. The rest you can discard them. And make sure you always, if you've done your writing, make sure to reference your study. So do not be lazy. When you want to study, go to your references page, type in all the details, the name of the authors, the 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 date of publication, the title, the name of the journal, the name of the source, whether it's a website or a book, and then make sure in your you know how to sequence them. No? If you need the volume, the page number, so you should know how to sequence them. My friend told me there's an app right now which allows you to just type in all the details, and the app does the referencing, whether it's Harvard, it's APA, it's Chicago. So good for them. But for me, like old people like me, we do it the old style. For example, if I have to do it APA, I just go to the APA website and follow the rules. No? So every time there's a study you want, make sure to put the references immediately in the bibliography page, and then you reference your what you have written, whether you use APA or MLA or Harvard. So just follow the referencing that the university wants you to follow, because just in case, because sometimes when you're busy doing many stuff, you forget to reference it. You kind of freak out and say, wow, where did I find this, where was this article? Because the reality is, when you're doing your research, there'd be more than like 20 open pages in your laptop. So the key is to always put the the title of what you're reading immediately in the bibliography, and do not wait till you've done many stuff, because I've done it before. No, I was continuously writing, and I've written like maybe 10 paragraphs, and then I forget where I got the sources. So after that blunder, every time I write a paragraph, I put the reference immediately, and I put it in the bibliography as well, so that I won't forget. Just in case there are similar articles with the same ideas, that's the time I blend them together slowly. It's a very slow process, but usually universities give you time to do your lit review. So it's a time to discover more about your topic. It's a time to really decide where your research is going, and it's a time where you fine tune your study to, because the next step would be to do the methodology. So once your lit review is set, your mind now is clear with what methodology you want to use. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something from this, from my little vlog about how to write a literature review the old style way. So if you have any questions, just email me at tonyfabe, that's TONYFABE @gmail.com. Email me directly there, or you can always WhatsApp me at 63915-042-3051. Is that 0915-042-3051? If you're in the Philippines, I'm in the Philippines, so my area code is +63, then 915-042-3051. So I hope to hear from you guys. If you need any help, just holler and ask help from Writer Coach Tony. So take care. I'm sure most of you are in a lockdown. Stay safe, everyone, and catch you soon.